Hi, Stewart here, and I am with Liz Trotter. This is Smart Business Moves. Hello, Liz. How are you?
I'm fine, Tom. Just curious, how long has your name been Stewart?
Well, just one of those days. It's been one of those days.
I saw that it was smart. You were trying to combine it with Stewart and smart.
Smart, and that's not smart, is it?
I think it's kind of good. I liked it. It's a good start. More starting.
Don Phinn's going to be with us today, and he was here just a minute ago, and then he disappeared. But I'm sure he'll be back in a moment. I'm assuming he has a momentary technical issue.
He had to go get something to drink.
Yeah. Oh, he's back.
That was fast.
And I changed the background. I made the mistake, by the way.
Yeah, we're live.
Okay. Hi, guys. We're live. You know, technology is only good as the person using it. So I logged myself out. I'm back.
All right.
It happens. You know, you think you got everything right and you're getting ready to go, and all of a sudden, like an update is pushing through to your computer, and you have to wait, 5 minutes.
Yeah.
That happened more than once.
Yes. Oh my gosh, so many times.
Well,
I'm always really gratified, though, Tom, when I ask you for help and you're like, I don't know, Liz. I'm like, thank you, Tom. Thank you. It's not just me. Oh, so irritating.
Library's full of books about things I know nothing about. It's easy for me to say I don't know. We're going to Don's going to be sharing HR stuff today, specifically the objective side, some math, some metrics, some KPIs in HR Catalyst. Explain what's the origins of that shirt, Don?
I've done a lot of speaking for the HR community, and it's fairly. I always kid around. I say HR is boring. I actually have a T-shirt that said HR is boring, and it causes a lot of dissonance with them. Some people are like, I love that shirt. Where can I buy one? The other's like,
what's wrong with you?
I said, well, you tell me where you've seen HR as exciting in a sentence, and let me know about that. All right.
A lot of important stuff is boring. A mutual friend of ours, Dan Wartenberg, one of his favorite sayings is, good management is very boring.
Yeah. You want HR to be boring.
Yeah.
In that sense, I get it. Yeah.
So, but before we jump in too much to our discussion today, we just want to take a quick minute and talk about what we're going to be doing tomorrow. What are we going to be doing tomorrow, Liz?
All right. So y'all did such a good job with On the Spot last week, leading us to believe that you did not want us to let On the Spot go. So we're not, at least not this week. And we are bringing on a guest that we already actually had scheduled. And so I'm glad you guys didn't cancel it, because you're going to love him. He's one of the most responsible people in our industry.
And they're secret. I like it.
Yeah.
Yeah, secret. And so that'll be tomorrow.
Right. Yeah. And we can't even try and recap that hint from yesterday. If y'all weren't here.
We'll just forget about that. He's awesome. It's going to be a lot of fun. You guys need to be with us tomorrow. Get your questions together, and we'll do it. Don is a featured speaker at the ISSA/ARCSI virtual convention this year. I know that to be true for several reasons. I was told that, and he's on their website.
I love this picture of you, Don. Oh, I love this picture. So cute.
I can't wear that jacket anymore, because then I become a personification of myself,
Oh.
It's terrible. I didn't realize I was doing that to myself,
Oh, but I do love that jacket and those glasses. The combination, so cute. Retro. Nice.
Liz, you're on the committee putting this program together, aren't you?
I am helping in a consulting role on that committee.
Consulting role. Okay. Well, that's close enough. You want to kind of give us a thumbnail as to when this is going to be, and, some highlights? And
well, November 16th through 19th, you see the date up there. So how the show is working this year is obviously it's being done, on Zoom-ish, a Zoom-ish type thing. But there's two segments here that I really like. And one is the live schedule, and then there's the on-demand schedule. And the on-demand schedule just means that these are courses that you can access at any point in time up until right before April Fool's Day, Tom's birthday. Got to give everybody a heads up about that. It's coming.
Write it down.
Yeah, write it down. So up until then, you can watch them at any point in time, which I love. I think that's so great. And you can watch them over and over again, right? Which is also amazing. And you can use them for education and training for your people. So when we think about the convention and we think about bringing people, oh, I love that you're going to be talking about math today, Don. So this is going to kind of tie into that. When we're thinking about the convention, we always want to bring our star people to convention, our leadership team, our management team, because there's just so much information for them to learn. But the cost is so prohibitive, right? Travel, hotel, food, compensation, it is so expensive. But this year, yeah, no, it's free, y'all. It's as close to free as you can possibly get. So I am flummoxed, to tell you the truth, by the number of people who have not registered. People that I think of as like smart, great business people. Why are they not registered? Any of y'all that are on this call right now that are not registered, please tell me why. Oh, Carlos Garcia. Got him on my list. Leslie, thank you.
And that's a pretty high bar, because I've known you for a long time, Liz, and I don't recall ever hearing you say that you were flummoxed.
But I am, Tom. I am flummoxed. There is just the math. I'm going to what Don is going to be talking about a little bit. This math, there is just a no-brainer to be registering for this event. The math is incontrovertible. There's another one for you, Tom, that you may not say for a long time.
My vocabulary.
Yeah. So anybody that's on this call, who do we got in here right now? Leslie, Marlo, Mark. Are y'all registered? And if any of you are not, please tell me why.
If you're not, you click on this button right here, register now. It takes you to this page, and just follow the instructions. Couldn't be easier.
But if you're not, please tell me no. Tell me why. I need to know why smart people are not registering, because we have other smart people that are not registering, and I'm so confused. All right. Anyway, there's also a couple of fun things that are going on. There's going to be in the mornings. Alonzo and I are on Tuesday. We're doing the morning coffee and networking. There's a morning coffee and networking with every single day for a half hour. And these times are all central. Oh, Leslie, good. I'm so glad you're doing it right now. Thank you. Like for all of us, it's great for all of us, right? Tom and I are constantly pushing that we want to professionalize the industry. Here's one of the big ways we need everybody to come here. But every day there is a morning coffee and networking where we can all just sort of chit chat. And then there are some amazing speakers. Then we have our live speakers, like Don is going to be a live speaker. And I'm a live speaker. Carrie Knight's a live speaker. I can't remember who the other, there's, Brandon Vaughn. All right, y'all. Just these four presentations that you will be able to see are worth more than the price of registration. So that right there, and I'm not kidding.
These will be recorded as well, and they'll be accessible, I guess, until April. I think I heard that.
Yeah,
that was my understanding.
It makes sense that they will.
Yeah, of course it would be.
But you can ask questions on the live schedule.
Absolutely.
Yeah, you can talk to the people, and you can get clarification on the points, which is so much easier live than when you're watching a video. Great lineup. Hey, look, I see our secret guest for tomorrow on that lineup there.
Responsible. Wow. Yep. I mean, look at some of the, Debbie's going to be speaking. Kedma, she has an article published in the most recent month of Entrepreneur Magazine. I mean, that's
not surprising.
That's pretty awesome.
Yeah, she's a mover and a shaker, y'all. So, all right, anyway, that's it. I'm glad that you are registering, Leslie. I'm assuming, since nobody said that they're not, Marlo, I'm assuming you're registered. Hilda, I'm assuming you're registered. Mark, you too. So we'll see you guys in not next week, but the week after. Looking forward to it. Hope I'll see you guys in the morning coffee and chat.
And I'm pretty excited about doing the last live presentation. I'd rather be live than any other than live. So it's kind of fun to be doing the last one.
Yeah,
some zombie presentation.
You're wrapping everything up there, Don.
Yes.
Yeah.
Very, very live.
So what you been up to, Don?
A lot. I've been keeping myself busy. One of the challenges we have is busy people never get everything done. I've just learned that. So I don't beat myself up about getting everything done because I put a lot on my plate, and so does everybody else listening today. So busy people never get it all done, but you always have these fantasies about getting to that project, to that pile. So I've been able to actualize those fantasies over the last few months, since most of my public speaking has been shut down, and I'm doing some of the virtual work, and I still do a lot of the coaching. But I've been creating some online programs. So I'm just releasing really soon here the Great Employee Program and the Great Manager Program. So as I kid around, there's no Tony Robbins for being a great employee. And so that's what I put together, a 10-part video program on how to be a great employee. And I'll let you folks know when it's all done and ready to go.
Yeah.
So it's a lot of flywheel to put those programs together. Yeah, a lot of flywheel.
Okay.
And is that going to be like virtual live stream? How is that?
It'll be very like this. So right behind me, which I've got the fake screen up here, but I've got a green screen that runs the whole room. I've got this incredible camera set up in here with all the lighting and high-end cameras. And so we shot it all in here, and then we got it rendered, and I sent it out and got feedback on it and reshot the whole thing after the feedback. And I think it's come out pretty good.
Ooh, nice.
Yeah.
I'm excited. It sounds great.
Yeah.
Yeah. When will that be released? When will that be available?
Within a couple of weeks.
Oh, wow. Okay.
Yeah.
So that'll
all the stuff's been shot. Now you got to do the landing pages and the checkouts and all that kind of fun stuff. So we're at that phase.
Okay.
Yeah. Then we push
So
it out.
we can subscribe to it and log in and
yeah. What I'm going to start by doing, as I would with anything else, is I'm going to allow people to have a number of their employees take it. So I'll be working both with companies and with career guidance offices, because not many kids are coming out of college very prepared for work. Yeah. And I looked at what I looked at what they actually offer those kids, and it's horrible. And so I'm going to start going there. I said, look, once you have 4 students take it, get your feedback on it, and you'll see why you should have everybody else take it. So I'll do a lot of that kind of thing to start.
That's great. That's such a great idea. You're right. We need more people that are ready to work and understand what a job is all about. Really know what a job is. How to be good.
And look, a lot of if they come out of a STEM degree and they're going to come into your IT department or handle that stuff, they're going to be quicker to the work. But if they're coming out of some kind of liberal arts background and you really don't care about what they learned in school, you just want them to have thinking abilities, right? That's what you're trying to get out of liberal arts, and be able to think. You're going to have to start them from scratch. So it's how fast we can get them up on a curve. And I'm pretty excited about the program.
Yeah, it sounds great.
Yeah. But today I want to teach you about some math, right? So, and I'm going to do some screen sharing in that process. I see I have the ability to do so. But having been around, okay, so I grew up in the South Bronx. That's the accent you hear. And I grew up around no money, and nobody I knew anything about money. Nobody in my family knew anything about money. It was just that ridiculousness. And so I didn't know much about money, and that all caught up in me around 40. So when I quit litigation, I started an environmental nonprofit. It was very non-profitable, and I was bankrupt. And I'm like, okay, that was really stupid, and I better get this act together. And so then I went to a program called Money and You, and I started really learning how to do things. And I realized that I didn't really know how to read. The only class I got a C in was in accounting. And so I realized that I've got to get that act together. And so a couple of things happened in a row, and I'm going to share them with you folks as we go on. So I'm going to share my screen here. Share entire screen. Okay. Do you have to let me share?
No, I think you should be able to hit the button that says share screen.
It says share my entire screen, but it's not letting me do that.
Do you have screens?
Try it now. When you click on it, it should pop up. Do you have more than one screen you're working off of?
No. Yeah, I've got a couple of things open here because that's what I want to show everybody. So I can show my desktop.
Go ahead and click on it again. Let's see.
Show my entire screen, but it's not letting me hit a share button. Do you have to allow me to share?
In this platform, no. It should be able to.
Okay, let's see if I can do it this way.
There you go. Yeah.
Okay, but you're seeing you guys, right?
No, you're there.
It's like a barber shop, man. He's going.
Yeah.
That is pretty funny. So let me try to see if I can do like this and go like that. Now, Can you see a big screen?
Yep, it's all white.
Okay, we don't want to do that either.
What you want to do is just reduce the StreamYard. You can bring it back up, and then when you got StreamYard up there, you just want to reduce that. Just get that out of the way. And if you have like a PowerPoint deck or a document or whatever you want to show,
documents on share. So if not, we can talk through it. But I'd like to really share some of these tools with everybody.
We were there. Go ahead and bring it up again.
Yeah, you were in the right spot.
Yeah, we'll get it.
But it just has me driving it. So let me see something else. Chrome tab.
What you want to do is
Window.
do exactly what you did before, but you want to go ahead and hit the.
Okay, let's do this. I want to start with a couple of things. Okay, so here you can see that, right?
Yeah, perfect.
Okay.
We're looking at
after you see the accounting game here.
Yep.
So after that debacle financially, I said, I have to really learn. And around came this program called the Accounting Game. I said, that's a really good idea for me to go to. And they taught it based off of a lemonade stand. And it really had a good run all around the country. And I got what a retained earning was. And I could actually start learning how to read public accounting statements and, read the statements of those stocks I had invested in and things like that. So of the learning, if you want anybody at your company or you or your family members or your kids to learn about accounting, this is the first place I'd start. It's absolutely awesome, awesome book. And it takes you through accounting based off a lemonade stand. So they have kept it so simple. All right, you can see it's got just excellent ratings. Then I was diving deeper into it. And the second book that was really influential to me was The Great Game of Business. Now, can you see that?
Not yet.
No.
Okay, so I got to go back to the share. Okay, let me make sure I go back to the share here. Stop screen. Now I got to share the screen again and go to that one. Chrome tab, The Great Game of Business. Now, my guess is some of you are familiar with The Great Game of Business. The Great Game of Business was about a Springfield remanufacturing plant that was working with one of these very large manufacturers. They were going to sell it because it was, in a sense, going into bankruptcy as a division. And the employees said, no, we'll take it over. Then they created an ESOP out of it, and they started what's known as open book management. So this was the beginning of the open book management movement, The Great Game of Business, where everybody at the company understands how numbers work and how to get people to do that. And I have found that open book management was very beneficial when I ran my company. And it's interesting, I speak to all those Visage CEOs. And in 2008, 2009, I had asked them before that, how many of you have open book management? What are the benefits of it? They loved it, right? And then some of them, what they ended up saying, was that what's the fear of open book management? Two things. One, they'll know how much I make. Right? That's one fear, right? And I asked them, do you know anybody that wants to work for a poor boss? What if I don't, they know you make a lot of money. Once it's like how much, who cares? Because they don't understand numbers, they really just see the revenue side of stuff, and they don't really know how numbers work in a business, and they just see the big numbers coming in, but they don't understand what goes out. So the first thing is how much do you make, and once it's not a mystery anymore. It's not interesting. Yeah, he's rich. So what? They publish the public company CEOs numbers all over the place. You can tell what everybody makes in a public company. And what's the second concern was, well, if the business is not doing well, people be like lemmings jump off the ship, right? And so 2008, 2009 comes around, and I said, all right, how many of you got open book businesses? Now the fear was, what happens when you open book? What's been the result of all you guys? I said, it's been amazing. People, that transparency, people love it. They're not guessing. They want to chip in even harder. They understand what's going on. So I really got to learn about math and about counting with Lemonade Stand and how all that stuff really works dynamically in an organization through the great game of business, right? And that was shortly after I quit litigation, went through my debacle. But then I started, one of the first things I did is I started one of the first HR mastermind groups in the country. So I became a big Napoleon Hill fan. A lot of you entrepreneurs would know Think and Grow Rich, right? And the idea of the mastermind, which is part of what your association is, sort of a mastermind. And I brought the top 15 HR executives together in San Diego. So people like Illumina and Qualcomm and Vistage and Callaway Golf and companies like that. And we met every month. And for half a day every month, I was the chair of that whole group. And one thing I realized about HR people is that they would know better about math than I was. Nobody gets into HR because they want to know math.
Yeah, it's true.
It's like nobody gets into accounting so they can do HR.
Well, with people.
Right? So the few people in HR who actually do know math might have come through an accounting or office manager position or something like that where they had to deal with numbers a lot. But most HR people really don't know math very well. It's a weak point of theirs, and they want to be strategic, but they don't know how to talk numbers. And it's very hard to be strategic without talking numbers, right?
Yeah.
So I said, okay, what I'm going to do is the one number that's kicked around more than anything else in HR is turnover costs, retention and turnover. So it's the biggest number you're always hearing about. And I would see statistics come up around it, but as a former trial lawyer, I knew that most statistics were tied to somebody's agenda. And so when I started cross-examining these experts, a lot of those numbers would fall away. And I said, all right, I'm not going to rely on any third-party numbers. We're going to generate them ourselves. And so I put together an Excel spreadsheet. I'm going to show you that now. Application window, Chrome tab, your entire screen. I'm going to share to see if I can get that up there now. Let's try to make sure we get this in here. Can you see that?
Yes.
Okay. So I put together this sample employee turnover cost calculator with every type of thought around money around it. So when we're dealing with the manager dealing with that employee, we've got that manager's salary, their benefits, and their overhead associated with it. Same thing with that employee and same thing with the HR people. So I get to a number of what that would be so that when we're talking about, hey, this person had to deal with this person an extra hour or two a week, that adds up, right? So we got the number there. Then you got all this costs of separation. And what I did is I came through with all these costs and I went to the 15 HR people and said, what did I miss? And then we added to the Excel spreadsheet. So we got the acceleration costs, the vacancy costs, cost of hiring new people, the training costs, the soft costs. Now, the interesting thing was once we got this spreadsheet down pat, I went back to them and said, okay, let's figure to keep our math simple and work this through. Let's find out what it costs each one of you to replace a $50,000 employee under, quote, normal circumstances. All right, because I was looking kind of for a midpoint number. The number that came back, the average that came back from those 15 companies was $54,000. And half of it was all the hard costs we just talked about up here. And the other half of it was the soft costs. Okay. Now, if somebody turnover is contagious, so if they take a whole bunch of people with them, the number is bigger. If they file a lawsuit, that's bigger. If you replace them with a superstar, you're ahead of the game, all right? So we're talking about on average, all right?
Yeah. And
so you can figure on what I would call a sliding scale of $15 an hour on up, that the midpoint of 1-to-1 in turnover costs is roughly $50,000. Make sense? Okay. Mm-hmm. With half of that being hard costs, half of it being soft costs. Now, if you're paying somebody $15 an hour, 30 grand a year, you're not going to pay 30 grand to replace them. They don't pay 30 grand to replace somebody at McDonald's or your low value service workers or low ranked service workers, not value, low ranked service workers. So the cost of replacing them might be a couple of grand, right? Mm-hmm. But the cost of replacing somebody making 100 grand a year will probably be at least 150 grand. All right. So that's the math around it. You can actually go through and actually run that math on some things. All right. Now, what ends up happening, you look at the cost of a bed higher. Similar numbers, the same factors involved. It's in fact, in a sense, an involuntary turnover. You know that you're going to have to fire them anyway. And then you got the cost of hiring and the cost of turnover are very similar to each other. It's just flip sides of the coin, right? Then there's the cost of performance. So I could ask any of your owners, what is your goal for increasing your sales? What was your goal in January for increasing your sales in 2020? And I'm sure you all had a number. Tom, what was your number?
We were reeling from, well, actually, that's not true. We started off, we were pretty ambitious, and then COVID hit. But
let's say pre-COVID, but you had a number pre-COVID. What was it?
Yeah, we were, they were different for different branches. The smaller branches had growth of like 50% because small numbers, not hard to double. The larger branches, it was still double digits. It was around 10.
Okay. Liz?
So our mastermind accountability groups, I have 2 of them that I run. So everybody in our group had to agree to grow 15%. That was the goal.
Good. Good. And I've heard anywhere from I've heard of anywhere of very stable companies like a supermarket trying to grow 2% or something like that, to companies that just got a bunch of VC funding and have to double in a year. All right. So you get these wide ranges.
Yeah.
And so always have this number. It's a 10%, 15%, 20%, whatever it is. Then I said, okay, that's the goal for your sales team. What's the goal for everybody else? And I just get blank stares. How come everybody else isn't supposed to grow by 10 or 15 or 20%? And what's the answer? What are you're 2 owners. What answer do I get back to that question? Why don't you have a mandate, just like you do for sales, a mandate that everybody else is also going to be 10% more productive?
Liz, you speak to this. Your philosophy is everybody needs a number, right?
Yeah.
Every single person in the company needs to have a number. And in our MMA groups too, everybody's got to have a number that you're reaching to. And I agree with your philosophy that everything needs to, you need to have a number for everything.
So look, the response back is it's hard to get the number. Sales is very easy.
Yeah.
But there's numbers associated with all work, right?
Yeah. And
so you can whittle them down to 2 things, quantity and quality. Sales are all quantity and quality, right? How much, how good. A cleaning job is how much square footage was the quality of the cleaning job. So you can get numbers on anything. The most interesting company I went to, one of my clients in LA has an enormous state-of-the-art call center up there. And they have the dual monitors. All the call center employees have dual monitors. And then they literally have these bars above them that identify their quantity and quality benchmarks in real time. So let's say they're supposed to make 10 calls an hour. It'll slide between red and green depending on if they're on pace, right?
I love
and since they send out a survey after every single call, not everybody's going to answer everyone. They get real-time feedback on their survey numbers, and that will be on there. And they can actually bonus at the end of the day if they meet their numbers that day.
Wow. That's
so
awesome.
They're very real time, very. Wow. Like a baseball player, you know your numbers in real time. And next time you get a bat, your number changes. If you they have gotten a contract, you hit 300, you make the All-Star team, you get a bonus. So,
but that real time measurement is so much more impactful.
Well, it's right in front of you, and it's hard to do that when you're driving a truck, cleaning a place, or doing. I get the challenges of it, but that doesn't mean you surrender and say, "Oh, that's too hard." Yeah. That's what everybody. Oh, that's too hard. I don't know. That requires thinking. Jesus, So, there's not a single thing that we can't solve. We don't have a bunch of smart people thinking on it. We're not doing rocket science or physics here. Okay. So, what numbers can we agree on and say, okay, how are we going to make ourselves 10% more productive? And the fastest way I've ever made anybody, all the clients that I coach, more productive is to get them to stop doing things.
Yeah, that's so.
If I'm paying somebody 60 grand a year and paying them roughly $30 an hour, how much $15 an hour work did I want them doing?
Right.
Yeah, none.
Zero, zip, ugats, as they say in the Bronx, right? No, none, nada. Okay. But how many people would be upset getting paid $30 an hour to do $15 an hour work that they would never do wrong, that they can do in their sleep, that eats up some of their day? I didn't let my employees have that choice. I didn't give them the choice. So I'm not going to let you do $15 an hour work and pay you $30 an hour to do it. We're going to figure out how you automate it, delegate it, eliminate it, all those types of words. Because if you want a raise, I even created a form, why I deserve a raise. I did. I said, you can come to me anytime. And if anybody, after all of this, you guys email me, I'll send you some forms and stuff. But they could come to me with that form anytime, but it required in that form to show me how they've added value.
Yes. Oh my gosh, I love that. I can't wait to see your form, Don.
Otherwise, people ask for raises because they need more money, not because they've earned it.
Or because of a time frame.
Yeah.
It's been 6 months, I deserve a raise.
Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
Huh?
Instant gratification, right? So that form was so helpful. I said, otherwise, I'm going to give you a market-based increase or a CPI, consumer price increase. I'll give you those, but I'm not giving you a merit increase unless you can show me how you've added more value. Because time alone doesn't add more value.
Yeah.
You're a cashier at CVS for 30 years. How are you adding more value? Yeah. You're not. Okay. So when we start playing with the math and teaching employees the math, and they'll actually start thinking about, I've got to show him how I stopped doing things and started doing things. This is true with the executives as much as anything. And where I really got this, I could show you another book, The Effective Executive by Peter Drucker, is one of my favorite books on leadership of all time. And Liz, if you remember reading that book, the first thing Drucker does is have these public company CEOs track where their time goes.
Yeah.
They're like, what? I know. That's what I just, all this money, you want me to track my time? Yep. Because you don't know where it goes. You think you know where it goes, right? So I created 3 Excel spreadsheets. They're on my site to track time. All the things I'm talking about on my website. So, and they're all free. Everything I'm talking about is free on my website.
Awesome.
So to track time, and then you start realizing, oh my God, I am spending, according to Drucker, you want to be spending 80% of your time doing only what you can do best. That's A time. 20% of your time doing administrative work where you're making sure everybody else does their job, and no time wasting time. So when I went through this, one of the biggest places where I was wasting time, because I was new to the world of sales, I was a trial attorney before that. Now all of a sudden I'm running a business. And And people would, I'd speak and they say, yeah, I'm interested. And I go chasing them down and chasing them down and chasing them down. They were unqualified leads. I wasted so much time because I didn't know this. I wasted so much time on unqualified leads until I started qualifying people to see if it made any sense to waste any time with them, right? That's an example of wasting time, all right? So we want to spend no time wasting time, 80% of our time in our value-added activity and 20% of time in administrative work. That's the ideal executive profile, okay? But then you go, even with any employee, my buddy Dave helped me out with this one time because I was on overwhelm. And if there's one thing I've learned about so many of our executives today, they're on overwhelm. I hear that more than anything else. And so Dave gets this 10-pound exercise ball in his place. He puts it in my palm, and then he gets another one. And he goes, here, put this in your palm too. I said, I can't. Mm-hmm. And he goes, when are you going to figure it out? Keep trying to put more stuff in. And the trap with doing that is we end up overcommitted. And anytime we're overcommitted, we will produce a lie.
Oh.
Right.
That's the trap of overcommitment. It's one of the biggest traps of the hero. You can't say no. Yeah. I was working 70 hours a week and sitting on 2 nonprofit boards while I'm going through a divorce. I wonder why, right? Okay. 'Cause I didn't know about the no part out there. Okay. So that's, I would say, let's say you've got just $1 million in payroll, and if you increase its productivity by 5%, just 5%, 1 out of 20, 1 out of 20. Mm-hmm. You know, that is so doable. 1 out of 20. In fact, there's no reason where you can't go 1 out of 10. So where I work with my clients, the first thing I look for, I said, they're typically working 50-hour weeks, management, 50-hour week. I go, what's the lowest 5 hours of work that you do? I said, somebody put a gun to your head and said, you have got to stop doing 5 hours of work. You'd be like, yeah, here it is. All right. So that's where we start because that's such low-hanging fruit. It's so easy to find the bottom 10%. Let's figure out how we automate it, eliminate it, delegate it, all those types of things, right? And then we're going to do 1 more hour a month for the rest of the year. 5 in the first month, 11 the rest of the year. That's a 16-hour change in how you manage your time in 1 year. And it is so doable because I've done it with myself. Yeah. Even better, even push past that. Okay. So that's time management really ties in to productivity. So the big 3 numbers in all of personnel management are the numbers around hiring, retention, and performance. Those are the big 3 numbers. All that other stuff is other stuff. Benefits is a number, work comp is a number, all those things are numbers, but hiring, retention, and performance are the big 3. I call it the 3-legged stool of HR, as I call it. Okay.
Nice. For everybody that wasn't listening, write that down. Or if you were listening and you weren't writing, write that down. Because Don, one of the things that I run into with people when we're coaching is they're trying to do everything. Like you said, you got to stop doing stuff, but then they stop doing the wrong things. Or, they like stop doing low value. Like you said, don't stop doing high value because it's hard. They stop doing the hard things and they keep doing the easy things.
Okay. So one last thing about time management. So to better manage my time in my freakish way, I read a dozen books on time management, and then I wrote 2 books on time. So number one thing I learned, first of all, is to know where your time goes. And the second thing is to calendar all your activities. Calendar them. So generally what happens to us, and I'll have my clients actually open up their calendar in Outlook or Google and show me their calendar. And what you'll see is a meeting and a blank space, and a meeting and a blank space. Now, what do you think people do when they get to that blank space?
Waste time.
They feel like doing in that moment, right? They'll go to their to-do list. Which one of these can I knock off the list? That's the wrong way to manage your time. So first of all, me and my employees did not have a to-do list. We had a get done list, a to get done list. It's not the doingness that matters. It's the doneness that matters. So I got a to get done list, not a to-do list. Right. And then I said, what's the most important things on that? I have got the calendar. So my calendar is full purposefully, except for I leave some open spaces that I want on the calendar. My open spaces are purposeful. Everything else is pre-calendared. And when you do that, it absolutely changes how you use your time. Because then I don't have to think about what's next. I already know what's next. I stay in action. I'm not bouncing all, what do I feel like now? What do I feel like now? What do I feel like now? Oh, I got a meeting. What do I feel like now? I got a meeting. What do I feel like now? That's no way to manage your time well. Okay. No way for your employees to manage their time well. You want to look at, especially if you've got anybody in an office, you want to look at their calendar. See how they're managing their calendar. Okay. So now the next thing, that's some about the basic math of HR. The next thing about math around HR is a lot around the retention stuff. It's really a marketing exercise. It's marketing. You want to retain clients, you market to them. You want to retain employees, you market to them, right? So I created another spreadsheet that I created as a result of what I learned in marketing. So after I quit litigation and started running a business, like all of you folks, I had to learn marketing. I go, wow, there's so much to learn in marketing, right? Let's see, application window. There we go. Okay. So in marketing, there's a formula that's been around forever: cost, ease, and impact. So for example, let's say I've got a $5,000 budget and I'm trying to do some lead generation with it. I'm trying to decide if I'm going to do direct mail or I'm going to do some TV advertising. Just two examples. Most people say, "Oh, I'll gamble $5,000 on one of them." Now, a good marketer say, "No, I'm going to test with a couple $100 on each one to see which one pulls better results. And then I'll go in." So as Jim Collins talked about in Good to Great, first you fire bullets, then you fire cannonballs. You test. Marketing is so much about testing, right? And so is retention. But the formula, I said, you know what? They don't do that in HR. They're not using this formula, which is tried and true to marketing to the outside, to do the same exact thing on the inside. So I put a spreadsheet together, thought of all different possible ideas of how you can, motivate people. And then we run it through the calculator. So I'll give you an example that I give a lot of the CEOs. I said, I was on a line at a supermarket and there's a Women's Day magazine, and on it covered had greatest motivators for women in the workplace. I'm like, it's the business I'm in. I go to the magazine. Number one was a written thank you note from the boss. Okay. So you think about that on a scale of 1 to 5, how expensive is a thank you note? It's a 1, right?
Yeah.
Now, how hard is it to write a thank you note? It takes 1 minute. 1 minute. You can time it. It takes 1 minute to write a thank you note. Okay. So it's a 1. And according, now you got to reverse the numbers to make the thinking work. According to that magazine, at least, it's a 1. So 1 times 1 times 1, there is nothing more cost effective than a written thank you note. So if it was my company, every one of my managers would have boxes of written thank you notes with instructions to send out at least one of them to an employee, send it home per week, and thank them specifically for how they did something that week. Not like, "You're great, love, boss. I loved how you handled that irate customers today. It really showed your tolerance. Keep up the great work, boss." Okay. And you send it home so the family can see how amazing they are, and it doubles the dividend on it. Now, you compare this to a 401k plan. And many of you won't have them, but some of you will, right? And some of you might even have matching dollars to them. So when I asked the CEOs on a scale of 1 to 5, how would you rate a 401k plan? They're all 4 or 5. They're all telling me 4 or 5 because there's real money there, real expense, especially with the matching funds. Then I said, what about the implementation of it? Well, it's got a lot of legalities around it. 1 out of 3 federal employment lawsuits are ERISA-based claims. They didn't invest my money right, blah, blah, blah. And so you've got it to third-party administrators and all this kind of thing. So I get 4 or 5 on that. Then I said, what's the impact of your 401 at your company? If I look at most companies, only half of their 401ks are being utilized. Here you are, have $3,000 in free money as a matching fund in a lot of these things, and people don't take advantage of it. That's called financial ignorance, right? So if you're going to have such a high cost and high difficulty of implementation, you have got to have a high impact. And that's where you bring in your brokers to bring in education, to make sure people are using the programs, etc. So this formula, you might be better off when you understand this formula to concentrate on thank you notes as opposed to 401k plans.
Mm-hmm.
Now, most people, if they've got an HS, a high deductible plan, and an HSA, and the ability to use an IRA, can still sock away $13,000 a year. And I doubt they're going to sock away any more of that in a 401k plan. So who really gets to use the 401k plans? The upper level management. And if they get overweighted to upper level management, then they're discriminatory and they run into ERISA violations again. So the thing is, if you're going to do a very convoluted type program like that, you've got to really show it has an impact to you. So for example, another tool that I created was an entrance interview. So we've heard of exit interviews and stay interviews. And I said, okay, why don't we ask people why they came to work for us in the first place? What on a scale of 1 to 10, how important was what you're getting paid, our benefits, the work that you're doing, the people you know here, the location, the hours. And if people don't, you can market your healthcare benefits way high, but if people don't value them and that's not why they came to work for you, you realize I'm wasting dollars there.
Mm-hmm.
I had a guy in the construction temp labor in Tampa wanted to bring in a whole healthcare program because he had been doing this shared expense thing that was much less expensive. I said, I'm going to take a guess. You're going to ask all of these temporary construction workers to contribute to the healthcare plan. Ask them if they would rather have that or their trucks washed twice a month. What do you think won?
The trucks.
Hell yeah. They got the shiniest trucks every Friday coming off that lot, going to happy hour, man. They were so happy about it. That's one reason why you survey about this stuff in advance. So let's say you should have a fun committee at your company. Anybody not want to have fun? Don't we need it? So we have a fun committee. It's good to put your millennials on a fun committee. And you give them a budget, $10 per employee per week, something like that. And you say, you go spend it however you want. Just make sure you follow the formula. So let's say they decide, they find out that cleaning the car is $20. So in a month, they could clean the car twice, or they can order pizza at $10 a head every Friday. Now, you don't have to guess in advance which one to use. You go to the employees and say, which would you rather have? Pizza Fridays for free or your car's washed? So you don't have to guess at the results. You can survey in advance for it. That is good math. All right. That is good math. All right. Last thing about this. I'm watching the time here. I have never met a business owner who's more motivated by cost cutting than revenue growth. I wouldn't want to work for that business owner. All right. If they're not a revenue, if their not main focus isn't revenue, you're at the wrong place. That's what a CFO is for. That's what your accountant's for. That's what your CPA is for, but not the CEO. CEO is about driving sales, right? Revenue. So HR comes in and says, I just reduced our turnover by 10% and that saved us $50,000. And then the marketing person comes in and says, I have an idea for generating $50,000 in sales. Mm-hmm. Who's the CEO going to be perked up by more? Not realizing that $50,000 saved in turnover is the equivalent of $200,000 in sales. So I spoke at 2 CPA conferences, and I was curious to learn from them what ratio that I could typically use between the cost savings and the revenue replacement. Now, realizing there's fixed overheads. You got all the equipment, you got all the office, you're really costing about a replacement dollar. And out of that is coming some marketing expenses and some sales expenses and some implementation expenses and some taxation. And out comes a dollar into your pocket. And they told me at the best run companies, it's at least a 4-to-1 ratio. So it probably is in your type industry, 4 to 6 to 1 in that kind of ratio. And you really want to know that, and you want all your managers to know that, so they really understand. And here's a line I teach so many of the CEOs I deal with. Every HR problem becomes a sales problem.
Absolutely.
Explain that, Don.
Every HR, how are you going to make, let's say you make a bad hire, it costs you 50 grand. There goes the roof you were going to put on your house, right? Because that 50 grand just came out of your pocket instead of going on your roof, right?
Right.
So now you have to bring in new revenue just to catch up and put the 50 grand back in your pocket.
Okay.
And that replacement revenue, whatever, they don't have a specific term. I said, is replacement revenue a good enough term? They go, yeah, that describes what it is. So that replacement revenue is at least a 4-to-1. It's not your ROI. Your ROI might be 10-to-1. But your replacement revenue is maybe 4-to-1 because of the fixed overheads. Make sense?
Yeah.
Right. So that one employee and one client that I coach, they had a call center problem. They had a $200,000, $100 million turnover problem in a call center with $5 million in payroll. And I said, what kind of bump do you think we could really put in it? You think we can reduce it by 20%? She goes, I think we can. And she did. She reduced it by $200,000. I said, now what I want you to do is to go into that office and find out what type of bonuses that salespeople will bring in $1 million get. Because that's what she did the equivalent of. She got a 10-day paid vacation with her and her husband to Fiji on one of those huts over the water. I kid you not. Okay. So understanding that relationship between the cost and the revenue is so important, not just for the HR conversation, but in general in the organization. So people really understand that. They understand the cost of saving a buck. You know, most of us are running pretty tight now, but if we can constantly look for ideas to be more efficient, not so much cost savings, think in terms of efficiency. So that was a lot at once, right?
No, we talk a lot about this concept, return on human capital. I mean, we're in the cleaning business and we hire a bunch of people, but the actual revenue that we're able to generate off of a cleaning technician, I mean, if we're good, you know, a full-time equivalent might generate $50,000 a year in revenue, which is really low compared to, you know, most other industries. If you look at the number of people they employ and how much revenue they generate.
Yeah, that was in my formula there. Some of the public companies like 300 grand a year, 400 grand a year, those numbers.
Yeah. So it's, in order to be competitive, not necessarily with the next cleaning company, but in the marketplace overall, you know, you really have to be efficient and make sure that you're utilizing every labor hour you're paying for, because you're already behind the curve just because of your low bill rates.
Yeah, you got low. It's a low margin industry, so you rely on volume. You know, that's the reality of your industry. No, but a lot of you have done very well relying on volume. Well, you know.
But still, we definitely need to focus on, like you said, efficiency and productivity. Those things matter, because the more we can focus on that, the more money we can squeeze out of our organizations. Because
and one of the mistakes people make, Liz, is they think that because it's a low wage position that you don't put a lot of time and energy into the hiring of that person.
Wow. Yeah.
And my experience, most of your employment problems are solved in the hiring process. That's like most of your marital problems are solved in the marriage process. Okay. You know, you're going to spend more time with that employee than your spouse, you know, so you might as well make sure you make a good decision in the hiring process.
Yeah.
So do we have any questions or any fun things like that?
got a lot of awesome comments. People getting a lot of value out of what we're talking about here today.
Good.
Yeah.
They'll learn a lot on my workshop too.
Now we want to hear more about that. We can't wait to hear more about that. Links to books too that you have, so that we could.
Yeah, I'll give everybody the PDF of the last book that I wrote that relates to that workshop. Yeah. So the 40/40 solution is the book. I'll give everybody a PDF, or they can go to Amazon and buy it like anybody else, right?
We have the PDFs and a resource page on cleaning business.
Yeah, and here's the other thing. I will share with you on the HR side. I sold my company to Think HR. All right, I had 3,500 companies using mine, and then I sold to Think HR. I think they're up to like 300,000 companies using it, and they work through insurance brokers a lot. And so your insurance broker may have value added of Think HR or a similar program that they give you. If you don't have a good HR compliance program, I negotiated on my way out the door with them as part of my deal to get some licenses that I can use kind of how I want to. I pay a friends and family rate myself, and I sell it to people at a friends and family rate.
Oh.
So if anybody's interested in that Think HR access, and it has safety training and things like that on it, chemical training, all of that, which is big in your industry, and sexual harassment training and all those types of things on it. If you're interested, you let me know.
Awesome.
So let's get a link on here to his direct contact too. Oh, there we go.
The website is the best way to reach you, Don, is just through your website, Don.
Yeah, they can. It's just donphin.com, and my contact information is on that last button there. It says contact. So
that's awesome. That's easy.
And I see a link here for free tools. So I'm assuming.
Yeah, there's a lot on that free tools page. It just keeps going. There's books on there. The chaos. If you go up for a minute. The book that says From Chaos to Order is what I learned about growing up top left.
Number 3.
What I learned about running a business.
Nice. Yeah, I can't wait to dig into this site.
And those spreadsheets are in there. And then if you look up on the right-hand corner of that page, I separated out my HR stuff to the great HR page. So if you click where it says on the top sentence, the very top sentence to the right, sentence up, Tom.
Right here.
Yeah. So if you click there, it'll take you to Great HR, which is where I posted all my free HR tools all over the place. And you see some of the training that I've been putting together and all that good stuff.
Okay, awesome.
So I try to, in a sense, separate out my speaking and my coaching from all the HR training and tools.
Okay. Yes, awesome. So I don't think you're going to be getting a lot of questions, Don, just because you do two things really, really well in my mind. One is you're always dropping like gold nuggets that are like, oh, my brain needs to like absorb that. First thing, those gold nuggets are a dream. And then the second thing is you make complex ideas simple. You explain them in a way that it's like, yes, I agree. So we can't see a lot of these people on here, but I would be willing to spend good money to bet on whether or not they're all sitting there going, yes, 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 I agree. Because everything you're saying makes such beautiful sense.
And that's going to be the fun part about so let me share about what I will be sharing. I did the webinar we did earlier on, touched on it a little bit. But there's 3 words that I talk about right now to help us navigate through all of this, and that's responsibility, grace, and creativity. Yeah. So as long as I'm acting responsibly, that's intellectual part of it. Gracefully, that's the emotional part of it. And creativity, which is how you get out of being stuck, right? The whole idea of pivoting and things like that. So I'm really going to focus on the grace part of it, how we show up, and that concept of 40/40. And how we get to a point where you come up to the line here, I come up to the 40-yard line here, and then we co-create in the middle, which is how you generate dialogues and how you generate creativity, and you prevent victimization and all that kind of good stuff. So that's I'll teach us how we get to this sweet spot, and it's a fun conversation.
And that's what you're doing live at the convention?
All the way live, as they say, live, all the way live.
All right, that's awesome. We only have
I
to
think
wait.
that was Lakeside.
So I dropped the link to the page that you need to go to register if you haven't registered. Again, those dates are 16th through the 19th. Don's going to be one of the live speakers. We've got a lineup here for the entire week. It's a deal. As what were you, flummoxed?
I was flummoxed about the number of really, really smart people that haven't registered.
I love that word, flummoxed.
We don't want Liz to be flummoxed, guys. So go to the website.
You know the reality of this, the reality of that, it has nothing to do with the expense.
Yeah, I know.
It's cheap. It's literally cheap. I mean, it's not expensive. It's a matter of whether or not they're going to dedicate some time to watching this stuff. And if the reality is nobody will watch all of it because nobody's. So even if you watch a third of it at that expense and really budget it the time, you'll be so far ahead of the game.
Yeah, right?
So far ahead of the game.
If you think about
everything you said was golden, right? So that also was golden.
So if you think about what we've been talking about for the last hour, a huge part of it is being more efficient, using your time wisely. So how many hours in a week are you spending because you aren't using it as productively and as wisely as you need to? You need to invest time in educational opportunities such as, this convention, so you can be more efficient, you can be more productive, you can get more work done in less time.
Yeah, you need growth time. You need growth time. I love that. Listen to Elon Musk was a guest where he was interviewing a whole bunch of Saudi businessmen, and they asked him what was the most difficult decision he had to make in his business, in his years in business, and he thought about for a minute. He says, "How to use my time."
Mm-hmm.
Amen. That's all we got, man. That's all we got, right? How are we using our time? So if you want to build some muscle, you've got to exercise, you got to learn, build that mental muscle. It's much better than doing $20 an hour work. I can guarantee that.
Well, we are at the top of the hour, so we're going to have to wind it down for today. Don, as always, you're awesome. Thank you so much.
I enjoyed this. So good. We'll have fun next week too. And if anybody's got any questions, reach out to me and I'll get you a bunch of those tools. You can't find them, I'll send it to you. I'll just email them to you.
DonPhin.com. Check it out. A lot of good stuff.
I am my website.
So, we'll see you in a couple of weeks, Don.
All right. Bye. And thanks again.
See you tomorrow on the spot. Bye-bye.